Perhaps the least understood and most effective counterinsurgency concept during the Vietnam War was the Phoenix program. While all other special operations missions were directed against communist military targets, Phoenix was specifically a means of neutralizing the Viet Cong political infrastructure inside South Vietnam. The idea was to cripple the communist shadow government that operated in the villages and countryside, drafting soldiers, collecting taxes, and undermining the South Vietnamese government. Using intelligence, informers, and a variety of other means, the political cadre and other hidden Viet Cong leaders would be persuaded to surrender, defect, be captured, or, if necessary, killed in a firefight with South Vietnamese or American paramilitary or special operators. It was likened to using a rifle shot rather than a shotgun blast approach to undermine the secret Viet Cong efforts to control the civilian population of Vietnam. Phoenix was one of several pacification and rural security programs that the CIA ran in South Vietnam during the 1960s. The premise of pacification was that if peasants could be persuaded that the government of South Vietnam and the United States were sincerely interested in protecting them from the Viet Cong and trained them to defend themselves, then large areas of the South Vietnamese countryside would be secured or won back from the enemy without direct engagement by the U.S. military. By 1967, the U.S. Military Assistance Command Vietnam, MACV, had succeeded in consolidating all military and civilian pacification efforts into one entity, called Civil Operations and Revolutionary Development Support, CORDS. The CIA and MACV were intensely involved in CORDS, which was run in conjunction with the Saigon government. CIA veteran Robert H. Comer initially headed CORDS, but it was most active and successful under William E. Colby, who replaced Comer in 1968. During World War II, Colby served with the Office of Strategic Services. After the war, he joined the newly created Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA. After Vietnam, Colby became Director of Central Intelligence. Colby served as DCI under Presidents Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford, and was replaced by future President George H.W. Bush. Colby believed the United States had to rid South Vietnam of the existing communist parallel government in the villages and eradicate the Viet Cong infrastructure, VCI, in the countryside. Thus, CORDS, while working on village defense and civic action programs, including land reform, infrastructure building, and economic development, also devoted considerable resources to rooting out the VCI. Another component of CORDS was the Phoenix program. Although Phoenix was run and ostensibly controlled by the Saigon government, the CIA funded and administered it. Phoenix built on the work of the CIA, creating a network of over 100 provincial and district intelligence operation committees in South Vietnam that collected and disseminated information on the VCI to field police and paramilitary units. Essentially, these committees compiled lists of known VCI operatives. Once the name, rank, and location of each individual VCI member became known, CIA paramilitary, or South Vietnamese police or military forces, interrogated these individuals for further intelligence on the communist structure and its operations. The lists were sent to various Phoenix field forces, which included the Vietnamese National Police, U.S. Navy SEAL teams, and U.S. Army Special Operations groups, and provincial reconnaissance units such as the one in Tay Ninh. The number of Viet Cong cadres neutralized by various means by the Phoenix program between 1965 and 1972 are staggering, though wildly exaggerated by supporters and detractors. The CIA later estimated that between 1968 and 1972, Phoenix neutralized 81,740 people suspected of being Viet Cong cadre or NLF membership, of whom 26,369 were killed, thus crippling the communist infrastructure. While the Phoenix program did not destroy the Viet Cong infrastructure inside South Vietnam, It certainly prevented the communists from successfully operating a shadow government and overthrowing the Republic of South Vietnam through popular revolt. It's claimed that while the Tet Offensive of 1968 virtually destroyed the Viet Cong as a fighting force, the Phoenix program forced the communist cadres inside South Vietnam to go so far underground that it destroyed their effectiveness. The Viet Cong infrastructure and local military units were so weak that they had to be replaced by North Vietnamese cadres and military troops who were less effective than local native personnel. After the United States and other Allied troops withdrew, by 1973, it required the direct military intervention of the North Vietnamese Army to defeat an ill-trained, poorly equipped South Vietnamese military and government with poor leadership and morale.